All right, welcome back to the Roll Troll to Experience Radio Show live here on Philly Hot Radio. We're about to have our exclusive interview / conversation with Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson. How you doing, Kathy?
How are you, Levon? Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
It's definitely an honor and privilege to have you. We go back a long time, since almost 20 years.
20 years. Yep, it'll be 20 years next year.
I know. Wow. God's definitely good all the time. Thank you so much. So there's a lot going on in our city, as you may know, with the violence and all that stuff going on. There's a lot going on. So we'll get into that later, but our conversation. But I want to start asking you, who is Kathy Gilmore Richardson? Who are you?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to say thank you, Levon, for this platform and for all the work that you continue to do in our community. Your dedication to the work and to empowerment of young people, to me, is some of the most important work we can do in the city of Philadelphia to ensure that we are supporting young people and keeping them out of the systematic poverty and oppression that we continue to see, which is the stem root to all of the problems that we are seeing manifested in our city. So I just want to say thank you for your commitment and for all the work that you do in the city of Philadelphia. And you have always been this way back to our days at Westchester University. But again, I'm Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson. I'm currently serving my very first term in Philadelphia City Council as an at-large member. So for those of you who may not know, City Council is the legislative arm of the city. We legislate and appropriate the dollars of our city, $4.6 billion budget. There are 17 members of Philadelphia City Council. 10 serve a district. So meaning they represent a certain area of about 150 to 155,000 people. And 7 members are at large, meaning we represent the entire city of Philadelphia. And out of those 7 members, our charter states that 2 of those members have to be of a minority party. So 5 of the at-large members are of the majority party, and I'm one of the majority party members of Philadelphia City Council serving at large. I'm also the youngest black woman ever elected to citywide city council positions in the history of the city of Philadelphia, and I'm excited to be serving. On the personal front, I'm a mom of 3 wonderful children, all who have been working remotely. I have 3 kids going to 3 different public schools in the fall. So I'm a mom who's also getting ready to ensure that my young people are ready for their back-to-school experience. On the community front, I am a proud member of Winfield Residents Association. I've been serving on the board of directors there for over 10 years. I'm also a life member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and a former vice president of the Philadelphia Young Democrats. But how I got to this work and to this service is before running for office, I started out in city council as an intern. In 1999, I met then council member Blondell Reynolds Brown, and she came back to my high school to talk to us at the Philadelphia High School for Girls about her career and how she had just been elected to city council, but not yet sworn in. So I wrote her a letter, and we stayed connected for the past 21 years now. So I served in her office as an intern and a volunteer in high school. In college, I was a graduate intern in her office. And then after grad school and after working as a teacher in the school district, I started working in her office full-time and served in every position you could work in a city council office until I became her chief of staff. So that's the long and short about my life. I'm a proud also member of Church of God of Prophecy at 2618 Ridge Avenue, which is in the heart of North Philadelphia. And I just love the city of Philadelphia and know that we can do so many great things together.
Wow, you can't cover too much questions already. That's good. Well, you have a lot to offer and a lot of great work you have done for our city. So So you say you served under Bonnell Reynolds Brown, correct?
Yes, yes.
So,
So Blondell served in city council she was actually sworn in 2000 until 2020, January of 2020. And I worked with her either as an intern or a graduate intern or as a member of her staff for most of that time.
so what made you decide to do that? That was something that you always wanted to do, or something you was curious about at the time when you first started it? What made you decide to do that?
So really, it's life. It was happenstance. When I met Blondell, I was a junior at Girls High. So my dream at that point was to become a teacher. I wanted to be a social studies teacher, and I wanted to eventually become a principal. So when I met Blondell in '99, I was just volunteering for their events and like on her campaign. And once I went to college at Westchester, I think that was in '01, I only would be able to volunteer or intern when I was home. So at that point, I was studying education with a focus on social studies, and I wanted to be and was solely focused on being a teacher. And then somewhere within my academic career, which was like in my junior year at Westchester, I actually changed my major to political science. And when I changed my major to political science, I graduated like a year after, and I wound up being emergency certified to teach. So I was still able to teach and follow that dream, but all the while I was still volunteering and helping in the community and in my neighborhood and in the councilman's council office. So eventually, after working at another job, I was still, volunteering and helping, and eventually I started working full time. So it really just kind of happened because I loved helping people, and I loved doing the work, and I loved volunteering. So even though I would always have another job, I was still helping and working in the councilwoman's office at the same time.
Wonderful. Okay, it sounds like everything you did is all involved around working with people, and I think that's exceptional. I think that's outstanding because we want to help each other because we want each other to win and be better for the long term. So, what made you decide to go to city council? What made that you say I'm going to do city council? What made you decide to run for it?
Yeah, so I really think, to be honest, it is really in me. I really just love helping people.
Okay.
I love helping people, and we have to ensure that we are doing all that we can to make a difference in their life. So I think it's my whole life story and all the work that brought me to this moment, and I'll go back. So for me, I was born in Philadelphia. I was born to a teenage South Philly girl. I was adopted from birth by my parents who raised my sister and I in Winfield. And they really instilled in us, values that you have to work hard, that you have to have perseverance, and you always have to reach back and help other people. I always say this, and this has been on my Facebook page for years, we rise by lifting others. It's only what you do for others that counts and what lasts. So I grew up in Winfield, and really in that section of the city, it was a part of the city where, it has a real strong history of political engagement and people being involved and engaged in the process and ensuring that we are utilizing the elected officials to work in our favor for the betterment of our community. So I was really seeing, what the power of an engaged community can do. And the resources that it can bring to that community. And that's what really gave me the opportunity to start volunteering on, a variety of political campaigns and community-based campaigns. And like I said, then I met Blondell and started working in her office and, helping people and helping residents and having the opportunity to help residents all over the city with their day-to-day quality of life issues. It was really, really important to me, and it remains, I would say, one of the best parts of the work that we currently do. But when I thought about running for city council, I really thought about wanting to create a Philadelphia where all of our residents, so it doesn't matter your age, your ability, the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your education level. Your zip code should not determine your life expectancy. And I thought about that and thought about that in the context of us being the poorest, biggest city in America. And I said, we have to do something about this. And I decided to run for city council because of that, because your zip code should not determine your life expectancy. You can be in one portion of Society Hill and your life expectancy is one number, and then you can go just a few miles up Broad Street and your life expectancy is decreased by 10 to 15 years. That should not be acceptable to anyone who lives in our city.
Wow, I just want that quote down. Your zip code should not determine your life expectancy. Wow, that's a deep quote. That's a powerful quote that you wrote, because it's so true, because a lot of times we are judged and labeled based on a zip code, and it's unfortunate, you know. It shouldn't be that way, because it doesn't matter where you live at. As long as you have the ability and capability to do the work, you know, that should be successful. You don't need it, because a lot of times we get judged by zip codes and by, you know, where we have expectations, you know, based on where we come from, where we live at. So it should not be that way, you know. So I'm glad you said that, because it's very, very important, because, you know, in the day it's about what we do, how we rise from that, where we live at, to be who we are today, you know. So I feel that's very, very
And you know what? And you're exactly right, Levon, because what I think about now is, look at what we've been dealing with the coronavirus. I mean, just think about the disparity.
Wow, yes.
Every day, I mean, it's upsetting to me, which is why every day since we've been dealing with the coronavirus in Philadelphia, my office, we have shared the numbers of all the presumptive positive cases, how many, you know, unfortunately, how many deaths we've seen in the city due to coronavirus. But look at the numbers. You know, and I love this particular quote from one of our great African-American philosophers. His name is Jay-Z. But he said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And if you follow the numbers and you look at the numbers, you can see the vast disparity of folks who are positive with coronavirus. You know, the highest zip codes with presumptive positive cases are in our African-American communities. And even in my particular neighborhood, I'm in 19131 in West Philadelphia, we have a high rate of presumptive positive cases when you look at the city as a whole. And really that all goes back to all of this structural racism and oppression that we have seen and that we have to tackle and address, because these are the reasons why we have more cases, you know, in African American or amongst African Americans than we do, you know, other ethnicities. And at the end of the day, from poverty, from, you know, how coronavirus has hit our community, to everything in between, you know, those disparities between zip codes and those disparities between the more affluent areas versus our lower income populations, that's all. We have to close that gap. We have to close these inequalities. And everything that we do and everything we work on, we have to look at it through that lens, because it's literally a system that's been built that we have to look at and chip away and dismantle and destroy, so that we can give people real opportunities once and for all. I don't want my children, my daughter's 5, my son is 3, my bonus daughter is 14. I don't want them to have to deal with these same issues again. We should not have to, you know, pass this fight down to the next generation of young people. We need to be able to fix this once and for all, and that's a large part of the reason why I ran for city council, because we have to do something about this once and for all. And, you know, when I think about that, and when I was, you know, thought about it, when I was running for office and all the issues that I've been working on, you know, as much as we can since I've been in council, is around those same things. You know, making sure we're investing in education, you know, looking at job training and workforce development, which is big for me. You know, the first piece of legislation I introduced was around giving a preference for young people who graduate from career and technical education programs from the School District of Philadelphia, a point preference for civil service jobs with the City of Philadelphia. So everything is around figuring out how we can level the playing field. And then supporting our small businesses on all these corridors, because guess what? They employ the people in our communities. I have neighbors who work on my commercial corridor, which is just 2 blocks up from my house, and they live on my block, and they work for, all of these small businesses. So we have to help them, particularly in this moment, because the coronavirus has changed the game. We're under this whole new normal, and we really have to focus in on doing all that we can for small businesses. But it's a lot of work that we can do to look at changing these systems and eradicating all of this systematic oppression that we have seen over the years. But we need to do that in a really, really, thoughtful way.
Right. So my question is, you said that a lot of African communities have the high cases of coronavirus. What you and City Council have planned in place in terms of providing maybe more and more tests or resources for people in those communities to help ease the coronavirus in those communities that are in very high? Do y'all have a plan in place for that?
So I have to, give kudos to our City Council leadership team and our council president, who had the foresight and insight to ensure that we were working on an education campaign in both traditional and non-traditional media to get the word out about the coronavirus and about protecting yourself by wearing a mask and practicing what I like to call physical distancing and promoting good hand washing hygiene. I don't know if you heard some of those advertisements on the radio. Also, we focused on smaller community papers, had different languages, but just to talk about some of the things that people can do to protect themselves from the coronavirus. And then also advocating for the work of the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. I think their work is so very important, and particularly today, they're at Mander Recreation Center at 33rd and Diamond performing tests until 3 o'clock this afternoon. So from a city council perspective, where we legislate and appropriate dollars, ensuring that the work of the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium and other organizations like them are supported, because they partner with our trusted community partners in the African American community, like our religious institutions and others, to bring testing directly to those in need. So, for instance, today they're at Mander Recreation Center at 33rd and Diamond. The other week they were back at Penn Memorial Baptist Church in my community. The other week they were testing at the 69th Street SEPTA terminal. And they just go around in various areas. I know they tested at 52nd and Market. In other areas to provide testing in the African American community. Because one thing we have to realize with the way these systems, have worked, not every person has a primary care physician.
That's true.
Give them a referral to a test for the coronavirus. We need to remove the barriers.
Right.
And that type of work is being done by the African American, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. So supporting that type of work, ensuring that we have diversity amongst our contact tracers, which are the individuals that the city health department and the organizations they are contracting with, identify to do the tracing of, if you are positive for coronavirus, who have you been in contact with, who have you been around, so we can try to get to those individuals to stop what we call the community spread of the coronavirus. So really it's supporting the work of the community organizations who are doing the work on the ground to provide testing and contact tracing. I'm not saying that it's perfect. We know and recognize that we have to continue to do more, and we are going to continue to do all that we can to stand up testing and contact tracing in the city so that we can stop the spread of the coronavirus here in Philadelphia. But like I said, also those education campaigns are important, reminding people that they need to wear a mask. My mask protects you, your mask protects me, ensuring that you are practicing physical distancing of at least 6 feet away from the next person, and then a good hand washing hygiene always. And if you can't get to a hand washing station, using your hand sanitizer.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much for that knowledge and that information for us, for our viewers here, that can take it and spread the word, because this is a very serious ordeal and a very pivotal time that the people get tested and also get pressed and hand washing as well, and wearing a mask everywhere you go, because it's still out here in the city of Philadelphia and people need to start caring for others instead of worrying about themselves. So our next question is probably obvious here. besides that coronavirus being a pandemic, the other pandemics going on is uprising violence during our pandemic. And I mentioned on the show earlier today about the 100 children being shot in Philadelphia already this year. So, because it's really sad that young people are being shot for no reason or isn't bystanders, and also the violence overall in Philadelphia has risen during the pandemic. So, what do you think a plan should, because a lot of times I see marches going on, protests, then something happens 2 or 3 days later. So, what can the city of Philadelphia do, in your opinion, to lessen the violence? Because it's getting really toxic out here. Our kids I talk to doing my job feel unsafe going outside, and we can't even be on a porch or be on a corner playing basketball. I had Jordan Sullivan hearing a gunshot. So, what, in your opinion, that Philadelphia should do to help combat this? Because it's really getting absurd out here, and parents are fearing for their lives, and parents are thinking about moving. It's really overbearing on top of the coronavirus.
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. And I think if we all had the exact answer to that question, we would be in a different space and place. But I'll have to say, again, as a mom of little people, and as someone who lives in West Philadelphia, where the last two incidents that were publicized have happened, I live very close to the 200 block of North Simpson Street, and then also over on 42nd Street, where the last incident occurred. But as a mom, I'm sick of the gun violence. As a Philadelphian, I'm sick of the gun violence. As an elected official representing the city, I'm sick of the gun violence. And I agree with you. I think that the marches and the protests are very important. They are important to bring the awareness to what is happening in our city, because, if we are silent, that means that we agree. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we agree. But I think what we need to do, is look at how we've gotten to this place in space. And what we can do to eradicate some of these issues. The first thing I think about is, how are people getting access to these guns?
Exactly.
How and why is there so many guns on our streets? That's the first thing. We have to stop the stem and the flow of all of these weapons, and a lot of high-powered weapons on our streets. That is a problem. So that's one thing I think we need to focus on and work with our state and federal partners to do that, because, even though we're a city of the first class in Philadelphia, we don't have the power to enact gun laws, right? So we have to ensure that we are working intergovernmentally with our state partners and all of our federal partners to address these laws at the state level as well. The other piece of that, I think, again, we're the largest poor city in the country. And although we've seen, across the country, gun violence and uptick in gun violence in large metropolitan cities like, Chicago and other areas, here in Philadelphia, what makes us unique is that we're the largest, poorest city in the country. So that means before coronavirus hit, there were a lot of individuals who lacked opportunity and who lacked the basic needs that a lot of us enjoy to live in a good life. And that's something that is systematic, is multi-generational, and it will not go away unless we make real targeted investments in people and in communities. And a lot of times the communities where you see a lot of this gun violence happening are communities that have been, disregarded. They have not been invested in over the years. And to be quite frank, a lot of these communities have been discriminated against in a number of ways, from, housing policies on down. So we have to, think about what can we do. And this is not immediate, right? We recognize that some of this stuff is long-term, but we have to recognize, what do we need to do? What investments do we need to make in people so that people don't have to resort to, pulling out a gun? One thing that I've been talking about and that I plan on working on, I actually have a meeting with the district coming up about this, is around conflict resolution.
Yes.
That's one thing I think we have not focused on. Our young people, and I've seen it because I was a teacher too,
right.
And I broke up a many a fight in my day, without having to call the school resource officers in. I would just, if there was an issue in my classroom, or unfortunately, if our young people got into a physical altercation, I would deal with it, and I've even gotten hurt in my classroom doing that.
Wow.
But I think that our young people lack the ability to resolve conflict. We need conflict resolution for all of our young people in Philadelphia, because our first resort when you get mad or when somebody steps on your shoe or you feel like somebody disrespected you shouldn't be to grab a gun. We should be able to have a dialogue and talk about, what the issues are and what really is the root to the problem. When you look at, particularly what happened just recently with little Zamir, who passed away from gun violence, who was just playing on his porch.
Yes.
Playing at his
own business.
Well, just minding his own business, being a child, doing what a child does. My children do that every day. They go on their porch, they go on our porch, they play with their toys. A child shouldn't have to die just because he wants to go outside and play with his toys. So, I think what we saw even with that case, because I was following it on social media and I saw the guys who were wanted and, they were putting posts up on Facebook, and they were basically saying it's basically a conflict. It's some kind of conflict that was going on, and it was a conflict. Whatever the stem of it was, bottom line, it was a conflict. So we need to, I think from a young age, instill in our young people conflict resolution skills and tools so that they are able to resolve conflicts without resorting to gun violence. And then stopping the tide of these guns coming into our community. And then education. Look at our education system. In Winfield, we invest, $8,000-$9,000 on a student. You go across City Avenue in Lower Marion Township, they're investing $21,000 per student.
Wow.
So look at the inequity in our education system. They're investing 3 times as much in their young people per young person than we are in the city of Philadelphia. So, it's by the state, by state law. It says that we have to invest and provide an equal education to our young people. And that is not happening. And we have to demand better and demand more. Even looking at, the buildings that our young people are in. Before coronavirus. Dealing with lead and asbestos and the concentration.
It's not safe.
All of that has a direct correlation on all the other issues we have to deal with. So I think we have to look at short-term and long-term solutions. Again, looking at how we reallocate our budget, so that we are focusing more on really looking at public safety solutions. And that doesn't all the time mean that we have to pour more money into the police department's budget, but it means that we can look at how we reallocate our resources to provide, for trauma specialists, for mental health professionals, for additional dollars for workforce development and training opportunities for our young people so that they can be connected with good quality, family supporting and sustaining jobs when they graduate, whether they want to go to college or go to a trade school or, whether they want to just start, working in the workforce. So I think it's a bunch of things that we need to do. And I think if we have a concerted plan around, how we target our resources, how we look at whatever plans are within the police department and ensure that they line up with more of a community policing focus. I know recently we've had legislation that was passed in council that was introduced by our leadership team that will say that all police officers moving forward must live and reside in the city of Philadelphia if you want to work and be a police officer in the city of Philadelphia. Again, looking at how we can get more, minority young people in the pipeline for that kind of work because they, typically understand what's happening in these communities. It's a bunch of things that we have to do, and I know we all are working on them, and it's not happening as fast as we want it to. And I think if we had the answer to how we solve gun violence, we would, pour all the dollars we can to getting it done as soon as possible. But I know that we are working diligently towards that effort.
Wow, that was a powerful response, and I took some notes on that because that conflict resolution is very big because that's how the violence stems from, the conflict resolution, the access to guns, education, how much certain budget spends on the kid. You gave me some very awesome notes here because we talk about this stuff in our workshops with our kids about stuff they need to know now and not later, and hopefully we can talk offline. That I want you to speak to my kids about this stuff going on because I probably how these kids don't even know that, and I think that if they know this stuff now, I think there will be a more aware of what's going on, and also talk about the conflict resolution piece too. So I know we passed 1 o'clock, but I'm gonna ask one more question before you go. What kind of legacy you want to leave? What kind of legacy you want to leave when you're done being city council? Because I want to say this to you because I know Mayor Kenny, you guys got a second term, and I think last year, and he's going to be. I think his term will be. I think 2023. I think I'm not sure, but
yeah, the next municipal election is 2023.
Okay, so and based on I thought about this before you came on, and I wanted to tell you this in person on the phone that I've seen your work in the city of Philadelphia. I get your alerts on Facebook or email, daily, or weekly, but. I see you committed to the city, the people. I see you on news, and you're on the front line for our city, and I appreciate you. And I want to say this, I really want you to run for mayor in 2023 because I feel that it's time for the city to have a black woman in New York City. Because based on what I've seen, based on what I've done so far, and the work I've known for almost 20 years, I think it's time for a shift. And I really think that you'll be an ideal mayor for our city going forward for what your passion is, your way helping people, the way you carry yourself, the way you are out there by not saying it, but also doing it. So I really hope, I hope you think about running for mayor in 2023. So that's me to you because I have known you for about almost 20 years. I've seen you from Westchester to now, and I am really proud of who you are as a woman, as a person, as a leader for our city. And I hope maybe not answer, but I really want you to think about running for mayor in 4 years because I think it's time for a shift and change and mindset in terms of leadership, in terms of having a black woman like yourself on a leader of our city because it'll bring a lot of people together. I think there'll be a lot of changes will be made on your behalf. I know because I think it's time to be something different. That's my personal opinion. But my question, going back to the question, I'm sorry. What kind of legacy you want to leave with City Council?
No, well, first, I just want to say thank you for saying that because, the work that we do each and every day, I wake up and I think about what all can we do each day to address the needs of the people that we serve. So I appreciate that. Know that, I never say never, but I am focusing solely on my work in Philadelphia City Council. Legislative arm of government where we can make a lot of difference. But thank you so much for that. It's hard to think about legacy, right? Because I'm just arriving in City Council as a member of Philadelphia City Council. But I know one thing is for sure. I want to leave our city, which, we have coined this year, the city of sisterly love, better than I found it. And I want to see fewer Philadelphians living in poverty. I want to see more businesses that are owned by black people, by women, by immigrants, people of color, and really seeing those businesses be invested in. I want to see all these systems that we talked about today. Eliminated, and I know that we can get there. I recognize that this work is really, really hard, but at the end of the day, it's possible for us to get this done. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to serve my community, my neighbors in the city, and I'm grateful that I've been trusted by the residents of our city to help lead us in the work that we have to do to make a better Philadelphia. So really right now, if I had to answer that question, my answer would be I want to leave our city better than what I found it in. I want to leave a better city for my children so that when I'm gone, they can reap the benefits of the work that we all are doing together today.
Well, and I think you're already done that by the work you have done so far, and you're going to continue to do going forward. So we about to wrap up the show, but do you have any final thoughts you want to say to us, the viewers out here? Any final thoughts?
Sure. Sure. I just, again, want to say thank you, Levon. And I am going to follow up with you so that we can talk with our young people.
Yes.
Because I think that work is so important. We have to get to our people, our young people, when they're young, when they're so impressionable, and when we can still, make a difference in their lives and their thought processes and the trajectory of their educational and life experience. So I'm going to follow up with you on that. But final thoughts, again, just thank you. Thank you for this platform.
Yes.
Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for investing in young people, because together we all can accomplish more, and we always rise by lifting others, and that's what we have to do in this moment.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for your words. I'm truly humble and grateful for that. I appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship, our long-term, for almost 20 years, and it went so fast. And I'm praying that you continue to do the work you're doing. I'm praying for your children, your husband, because it's rough out here, and it's a lot of decisions you gotta make, that are very important. Some of it's gonna be okay with it, some not gonna be okay with it. But you gotta live inside yourself to know that you're okay with that decision, because our city's gonna change for the better. And this is the time that we have to use your voice. And I tell my students, use your voice. You can't be silent anymore, because you can't let things sit by and not say anything about it, or address it, or say something about it that's good or bad. So again, Kathy, thank you so much for part of my show. I'm really honored to have you as my guest. I hope we're going to have that conversation, because our kids need to hear someone from like you, someone that's out here in the front lines talking about being about it, and hopefully that you might come across a young person that might be intern like you were 20 years ago, that might be in politics down the line. But I know you're a busy woman, so I'm not gonna keep you full long. But thank you so much for part of the show. Hope we can do a follow up later this year, maybe later in November. See how you felt the progress city has gone since then, because there's a lot we know what's going to happen. But I hope that we can continue this conversation for our young people and amongst each other, because we have to make each other better. And I think that's the most important thing right now.
Yes. And Levon, a few things I just wanted to quickly leave you with for all of the listeners that are very important. If you have not filled out your census form, please go to 2020census.gov. Again, that's 2020census.gov. Fill out your census form. Filling out your census form determines the allocation of federal dollars that we can receive in the city of Philadelphia. And we know that we need as much help as possible to deal with issues around gun violence and our poverty issue in the city. So please, if you have not, please fill out your census form at 2020census.gov. And then, as you stated, November is it. This is the biggest election of our lifetime, and I just implore everyone to ensure that they are registered to vote. In Pennsylvania, you can go to votepa.com. Again, that's votepa.com. Please register to vote, and then after you register, request your mail-in ballot application right now, like today. Do it today. Because you know that there has been an assault on our postal service system, and we want to ensure that every vote is counted. So please go to votepa.com and register to vote. Ensure that you request a mail-in ballot application today, which is 87 days before Election Day, and complete your census form at 2020census.gov.
All right, I'm going to put that on my page as well, but we're going to charge our people to do that, and about register for census, also to vote, and also to request that mail-in application ballot. So, again, thank you so much, Kathy, for being a part of my show. Hope you are doing. Hope you stay safe out in Philadelphia. We'll definitely catch up soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Levon, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was the great Catherine Gilmore Richardson, and I hope that you was listening to what she said and pouring to all of you. I'm gonna take some of the notes that I wrote down and put it on this page and on my personal page. It's time for us to rise up and be a solution and not a problem. Be the overcomers and not excuse makers. Our time is now. Mary May, how you doing? I might need you to come on my speak to my kids next week, or the following week, because they need it, and I think they need your wisdom and your greatness and your knowledge on next week. I mean next week, following week. But if you get a chance, listen to the playback on the interview, and those who did not listen to an interview, my conversation, what she said. There's a lot going on in our city. There's a time now, whether it's to vote, whether it's for the census. Please, please do the right thing for you and your family. Do not make excuses or blame the other person. The time is now. Let's get on the front line. Let's be the change we want to see in our city, in our country, in our community, in our homes, and for the young people we are raising, whether your kids, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, your mentees. Be the change you want to see in the world, because God watches everything you do. And when you do something wrong, take accountability and responsibility for your actions. Again. I'll see y'all next week on the show. We have 3 guests: Amber Jackson, Jeffrey Smith, and Tanisha Chambers. They'll be live in the studio on the show that Saturday. I'll put information on there, and I pray that everyone has a blessed, wonderful Saturday. Be safe. If you go outside, wear a mask. Be mindful of yourself and others. Be a solution and not the problem. Have a good rest of your Saturday.